Hello there. Welcome back. I'm April. You are listening to the April Yvette podcast plus community. I created this podcast. It exists to help high achieving, purpose driven individuals unlock their highest potential. So I have an amazing guest today named Joey Lowery. He is a bootstrapped entrepreneur, Amazon best-selling author who speaks around the country helping businesses and marketing agencies dominate online through various marketing tactics. From working with coaches to Fortune 500 companies, Joey focuses on cutting out the BS and getting right to the success drivers. If you would like to learn a little bit more about Joey or connect with him, you can certainly go to his website at www.gomediashark.com, gomediashark.com. So, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
Hey,
Cannot wait to dive in.
thank you so much for having me. I'm, pumped to be here.
Oh, good. I was just thinking to myself, the fact that you said you cut out the BS and get right to the point, get right to the success drivers, that's exactly what I prefer. So I am so glad that you're like that as well. Really kind of get into the meat and potatoes of things that can really help people.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the whole thing of it. I think it's one of those things where there's just so much BS out there and you don't know what's real or what's fake right now. And that's,
Yeah,
it's something that's very important to a lot of people, including us in business and us trying to grow our brands.
it is. You're so right. Well, just start by sharing, with us a little bit about your background, where you're from, your story. How the heck did you get into having starting your marketing business? Let's start there.
Yeah, so kind of, I'd say definitely a unique story for sure. One of those things where I didn't have a background in it, no college, nothing that supported me going to business for myself at all. I just always loved, being kind of like I call like a little hustler. I loved going to grad sales and flipping stuff, kind of like the Gary V thing, sport cards to whatever I could get my hands on to, flip or whatever. Sometimes even, the parent stuff that they have that they didn't want me selling, and I would. So, one of those things grew up. I always loved sales, and then finally got engaged, and I thought my life was on a certain path when I was, Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised there. And family all of a sudden was going through a nasty divorce. I was going through a lot of mental stuff with that, and its own challenges that come as a kid, especially as your first year of college. And this is happening, and you're just finding out this destruction of what divorce can be like,
Yeah.
from the outside. And so they end up deciding to move back to California. Me and my ex-fiance ended up breaking up. She had always talked about Arizona, and I never wanted to live in California. It was never my thing personally. I wanted to be close to family, but not that close. And so I decided to take off and go to Phoenix. And so got there and took a little bit of time, ended up, taking about 2 or 3 months off and just kind of reevaluating what did I want to do, because I wanted to be in a career job. And that's really kind of where I was at in life. So finally found a marketing agency, and I can't name who they are for certain reasons, but I'll explain why here in a second. But
Okay.
I got on with them, and it was kind of a brand new situation. I'd never been in sales or marketing like that. I've never done, anything related to social media, anything Facebook, Google, things like that. And I was working for this company, and it was an amazing opportunity. It's very small, family style, probably up to 25 people total. And then after about 2 or 3 years, I was starting to make really good money there, and got to the point where I was almost bringing in about 25, probably $23,000 a month before taxes. And so obviously as a young guy in my late 20s now, I thought like, man, this is the best thing in the entire world.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to manage money either. So that was another key point. But I noticed one habit with the company is that they never could really bring on new people. And it would always be the same, mainly four guys. And there's these two girls on the sales teams, about 6 or 7 of us total, that, tended to make it the whole time and, obviously be successful, where a lot of other people got fired after 6 months. And so the whole thing was like, man, if you can make it past 6 months, this can turn to an amazing opportunity. And what I realized was, we would do it one way. I'd go to a conference. I basically sell, their services, knowing that I never did any of the back end. So I never did the Google ads, the SEO, the marketing that, I was basically selling. What would happen is we'd go to a digital summit, we'd set up a booth, we'd have all these businesses in different cities come up to us, talk to us. My boss would give a talk on stage. Obviously, we'd have more people come back to the booth. And then, I'd sign up clients or, land them that could, maybe spend 2,500 upwards to, $10,000 to $20,000 a month, on our digital marketing services that we offered. Problem though was during that time, going back to the BS aspect,
Yeah.
we started a couple of us guys that were a little bit more, I'd call it been there for a little bit and a little closer to each other, kind of, again, you're traveling with these people and they kind of become family on their back end too, just because every weekend, sometimes, if not, every other week, we're in a different city for 2 or 3 days, then we're back home to, our families or our life. And we're just always on the road together. So you get very close with these people. And so we're just getting a couple complaints from each other, just like, man, I'm losing clients. We keep saying we're doing this one thing, but our clients are saying they're not. Our analytics and our data is not lining up. And the other guys had families. So I think this is why they asked me, like, hey, Joey, dive into this. And, if you figure it out, I didn't realize probably what I was being put up to at the time. And end up finding out that basically what we were doing was not what we said we were doing. And so our analytics, what we reported on inside our own dashboard, didn't line up with what basically our Google Analytics, the real analytics was showing.
Yeah.
So over promising a lot of stuff. And I truly believe we were under delivering. Well, I thought that, hey, maybe if I just sit down with the kind of ownership, and again, there's really only three people above us in the sales side. It's, our boss, and then it's really the owners and the two owners. So, but my boss was very narcissistic. He was very much like my way, no way. Me and him had already batted heads a few times. And I thought after some liquid courage at a digital conference in
Yeah.
Raleigh, North Carolina, I, was feeling confident, we'll call it. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to bring this up. And literally the next morning, I was fired on the spot. No questions asked, just told up you're not the right fit for this company. And so uh, weirdly had a security escort me out of the conference, which was really crazy because
Mhm.
this goes back to that narcissistic leader aspect that he was, and just let me go and just told me, hey, sorry, you're not welcome here anymore. Can't say I was right or wrong about what I brought up, but I kind of got a feeling I was pretty right. And so get let go. And I go, first thing I do is like I'm teared up. I go sit in the lobby and I'm just like, you're so emotionally not just drained, but furious, anxious, nervous, like, what do I do next? And I'm
Yeah.
in Raleigh, so I still got to fly back to Florida because obviously during this time I had transitioned over to Florida now. Because I've had more clients on the East Coast and they let me move. And so I was over here now. And I'm like, I guess I'll go back. And I felt defeated. And so I was so ticked off. I thought, I'm going to create a company that could eat the name of, well, that my animal would eat the animal that their company is named after. And so
Yeah.
I created Media Shark. And so obviously can't say because of situations that I've had with them,
Right. Right.
I got hit with cease and desist from them. I thought I was going to be sued. I've been threatened from different, really from them, but through different people with my business. And it was, excuse my language here, but it was hell for a good year and a half of just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of stuff, a lot of testing and failing, let alone learning to be your own boss. And so brought on team members, fired people, grew our business. And, eventually we landed Sprint and Boost as a client. We did over, 7 figures our first year. It was a lot of hustle for sure. And then, Media Shark just started growing. And now I actually speak on the same digital summit tour that I got fired on. And I actually got to go back about a year, or about 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and go to the same conference. I actually took a picture of it. It was the same conference room I got fired in 2 years prior. And now I'm actually, my name's, one the company's being sponsored, showing, my name everywhere. And let alone I'm talking on stage now and speaking about, a lot of the BS and how to cut the BS when it comes to marketing and tactics of growth.
Wow, wow, wow. And you reached 87,400 something Instagram followers.
And
We're going to
yes,
get to that a little bit later. You're going to want
uh-huh,
to listen for that. He's going to give tips on how to build your following on Instagram. But let me just go back for a second.
yeah,
You went through a horrible breakup. I mean, we've all been through breakups.
yeah,
Everybody has. That is so hard. You make this move out to Arizona, you work for this company, and you see that it's not working. Like the data and analytics you're coming up with is not the results that should be the results that your clients are getting. You bring it up to your boss, the owner of the company, to say, "Here's what I'm seeing," and then he fires you.
yep,
Unbelievable. And so instead of getting just defeated, like you said initially you were, you decided to regroup, reclaim your power, and start your own business that actually, as in your words, could eat them for lunch, so to speak. You get the, which is the hence the shark name of your business.
yeah. I can definitely say I couldn't eat them. They always say,
Yeah.
money wins, and so they are a
Yeah.
very larger company for sure, but
Okay. I get it.
yeah, but no, absolutely. My thing was like, I don't want to roll over. I know I'm worth more than this, internally. I know I'm built for this.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest thing too, and I think something I've learned now, especially as I got into a lot of, helping other businesses, especially get to work one-on-one with different, men and women or couples that own their business, going over the aspect of sometimes you feel like you're a fraud, you're not ready for it. It's a lot to take,
Yes.
or the aspect of, who are you letting down? Is it, a family member? Is it, parents? Is it spouse? Is it your kids? And you're fighting all these emotions. And it's like the best thing I've ever heard. And again, some I know it gets used so much, but it's the Tony Robbins quote of "You've got to burn the boats." And
Yeah.
it's not like screw them, what they're thinking. Obviously you have to be respectful and be mindful of other people and their feelings and how
True.
they you, because obviously we don't make it doesn't work out all the time. We'll say that, of course. So but when you're ready to double down, that's one of those things where you kind of got to burn the bridge and trust yourself. And that's what I did.
Joey, when you went through that experience, when you think back on that moment, like what you were seeing was going on in the other company that you're working for and that you didn't like, you're like, no, there's got to be a better way. What was the better way that you saw when you were on the inside of that company that they weren't doing, they weren't willing to change it, that you thought this is the key. This is the key for success for businesses, or this is the game changer. What was that nugget? What was the lesson or the takeaway from
Yeah.
that you're now applying in your own business to help people even more?
Yeah. So at the time, not realizing what I know now, I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you what the answer was for what, that would have fixed their problem. For
Yeah.
us, for me, it was like, man, we're losing clients. People are unhappy. I'm losing commissions and sales. If I could just repair this like hole we have, the whole sales team, the company would overall make more money. The problem, what I didn't realize was this is where it gets into their margins and how they make their money. And so it was
Hmm.
kind of hidden and unethical, in my opinion. And I now had potentially exposed it and without even knowing it. So I don't think they
Yeah.
had a fix in mind they cared about. But I'll say from that situation, what I learned though was that like what just because you start diving into something doesn't mean you're wrong. And it is sometimes, completely okay to make the change and take the chance on presenting these things, especially ethical. Like you have to stand up for yourself. And that's one of those things that I didn't realize until I got out and I started making the message of like, stop getting screwed. I mean, that's one of our huge or one of our big pieces of messaging inside our branding is like, you're getting screwed or stop getting screwed and we can help. And it's really, not being afraid to tell the truth about things, bring up the
Yeah.
and that's something we've been, very blessed to, luckily, say built our foundations on. But it came from that aspect of taking a chance and trusting yourself. And so that's the one thing I'd encourage everybody. It's like, obviously you have to be smart. There are probably better times to approach things than, when you've had some liquid courage, if you partake in those things and bring it up to your boss on,
Yeah.
at a dinner, probably not the best timing, but at the same
Hmm.
but not also being afraid to not have a voice. Your life is what you make it, but you also are held back by that as well.
I love that because it sounds like it touched on one of your values, like a
Mm.
core value of yours. And you, even if you had some liquid courage or not, it sounds like part of the message that you want to share here, I mean, for everyone, is to don't lose your voice. You need to say what's on your mind, especially if you see something that it, like in your words, if you're getting screwed or think, it's just not going like it needs to. If a company, if a business, whether it's a small business owner that's local or in the US or wherever you're listening from, or even a Fortune 500 company, what are the top three telltale signs? Just give us a couple of those.
Yeah.
That's a sign that before somebody hires maybe a marketing agency to help them or an individual or whatever, that you better rethink this because these are the signs that you might get screwed or it's just not quite right. Something's off.
Yeah. So the first thing is I always say, if anybody promises you guaranteed result, I mean, define what guaranteed results is.
Yeah.
We say guaranteed results, but we have a definition of how we define that. If someone says, hey, here's the results, you pay after, be very wary with these things because even Google rarely does that. So if I call it the demigods of the internet, Facebook and Google, if they're rarely doing that or offering things like that, how the heck is a marketing agency that's using their tools doing that? So make sure you have very clear descriptions of what people are doing and or what they're doing with your money. The other thing too is it's a concept I call it like in the kitchen. If I hire a chef and I want to have, let's say, I don't know, lasagna one night, you know, I'm probably hiring the chef because probably can't or don't have the time or, won't make it to the ability that this person can do. So I'm hiring them out, or let alone I'll go to a restaurant and have it. The concept I'm referring to in the kitchen is, at least at this point as I'm describing, I probably could somewhat make it. I could understand how the oven works and, how to, let's say, make the meal itself. But if you're walking into a marketing world and you're going to be paying a brand or sorry, an agency or even a consultant, really look at see if make sure you understand the analytics before you go into it. Just like the kitchen, you understand how the stove works, how the materials are going to, basically be put together, the instructions to make the meal. You need to make sure you understand, where, what exactly is my website traffic currently, how many people come back, what are my sessions, what's my current conversions, how many calls, how many form submissions, or how many sales am I currently getting. You have to know your metrics, because the problem is they're going to come in and tell you, here are the metrics you're currently at. Well, if you've never or haven't looked at your metrics, you're completely putting all your faith in them that they're going to be truthful. And I hate saying this, and I'm not, so again, I'm pulling this out of the air a little bit, but there's a good 70% of agencies I'd say really don't tell the truth in these areas. And it's pretty hard to find somebody who's going to be so transparent with you that, because again, vulnerability doesn't mean you're going to continue using them. And so that's something that obviously they're aware of, and you need to be aware of as well. So really, making sure that obviously, the results-based situation, knowing exactly, what you have and what you are working with prior to going into an agency. That way they can't come back and, challenge you on something. That's obviously important too. And lastly, I always ask, hey, can you give me one or two people that you're currently working with, as a referral, so I can go talk to them. From our standpoint, it's kind of hard just because of some of the level of clients we work with. But that's one of the first questions I'd always say is, can I have a couple of referrals? I don't want to see a video. I don't want to read a testimonial. I don't want to see a case study. I'd like, do you mind if I could get one or two of your current clients just to, hear something? I'm happy to be on the call with you if that's what you'd like. I'm saying that from an agency standpoint, because obviously you want to make sure you're protecting your clients. But so I would just say, try to get something where you get a real life example of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Because again, you just don't know what people are saying online, and if it's true or how that video could be manipulated. Again, not saying everybody's doing all three of these things, but these are the first three things I'd apply if I was trying to look out for it.
I love that. So, and I also like that you said just ask for the referral. Like
Mhm.
before you go hire somebody to do marketing or whatever it is you're hiring them for your business, ask to speak with someone. Like
Yep.
email somebody or speak with them. Speak with them, I think, is even better, and get it from their own words.
Yep. I
Because
mean,
you're
we
right. I mean, I've seen you could even go on Fiverr and have somebody create a testimonial for you, somebody you don't even know. Um, I want to think that most businesses are being really honest in that area, but the truth is there may be a few, there's a percentage, even if it's a small percentage of them that may not be on the up and up with that. So always do your due diligence. I think is really important.
absolutely. And, and that's the thing. It's like, just be transparent from our standpoint. I have clients that we don't even work with anymore that I know, for example, I could call up, that would, it probably would take a little bit of convincing on my end to be like, come on, will you please do this for me, or us, and they'd still say
Yeah.
things, and again, that depends on the level of clients that you work with. And I think this industry, and this even goes back to the Instagram algorithm, there's our Instagram, going viral and growing your followers. And this is, TikTok, Facebook, whatever you want to apply it to. I call them, there's so many 25-year-old divorce coaches. They're basically 25-year-old people, or just in general, their knowledge of the situation or with the expertise they're giving. And now all of a sudden they're into the coaching world and they have no real background. Like they were never married for, X amount of years. They've never seen this. They've never been trained on the different types of, it's called the psychological situations that are applied, when it comes to these things. And then all of a sudden now they're a coach that's charging you to get advice, and they're way underqualified for it. And so that's something that I always think about, just make sure that you're not, I'd call it, hiring the 25-year-old divorce coach.
Yeah, you want to have somebody that's got the experience
Mhm.
that's been there, done that. Yeah, in their own life and even helped other people. Totally
Absolutely.
get that. Yeah.
Mhm.
That helps. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit. You have built an Instagram following of 87,400, a little more than that. I want to share, tell me about your story. Like, how did you go from 0 to 87,000 Instagram followers? How long did it take you?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any fast and furious way. I mean, sometimes this takes time to
Yeah.
build. Sometimes it's a little faster depending on what strategy you're using. But what was your journey with that? And then after you share that, we'll go deeper into kind of some practical steps that you took to get there.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't really sure what to do first in the beginning. I started actually with YouTube, honestly, and I really wanted to tick off the company that fired me. And so I created a
Mhm.
YouTube channel. I literally just put up it was fake wallpaper, a brick wall in the background that was wallpaper that literally you could see the bricks didn't even line up. And I just slowly started putting out videos. But what I did was I kind of came to the conclusion that I'm worth more than the way I feel. And, I had to get past all the self issues that I was having, whether I saw myself on camera or how I spoke, or, I'd see somebody else with a different video or whatever, pictures, just whatever, doesn't matter. The issue, of that. So once I could figure out I want to get past that, and I decided, hey, I'm going to commit to this. Honestly, I went to YouTube and I just spent a ton of time watching and how do I grow an Instagram? Well, actually, first it's like, where's the best platform to grow? Now, granted, I'm also trying to grow Media Shark at the same time, and
Yeah.
so I'm fighting just the actual business growth versus going into like, wow, I'm going to be an Instagram influencer, which I'm not, but I don't look at that as being a desirable thing for myself. I have some friends that are great, cool for them, but I was just like, how do I really do this that supports my business, or just it's encouraging for what I want to do. Um, so going back to it, I guess, really was just figuring out which platform I wanted to dive into. That was kind of the first one. And Instagram made sense. My account had already been around, and I maybe had 1,200 followers, 11, just a normal amount that I would have, just from knowing people and just being, friends. It wasn't business focused at all. And so I tested a couple things I bought images off Fiverr and put quotes on them and, did the whole faceless thing for a little bit. And that was
Yeah.
junk. Try to create brand new profiles just to see, hey, this one, maybe I'll make this business one out of nowhere and just have it just didn't work. I wasn't being true to myself. So finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to just figure out how to do it. And I realized like it was slow for sure, but it was following people, commenting on their stuff. Like I made a quota of like, hey, I'm going to try to, like up to 20 to 30 people a day, try to comment up to 10 to 15 times a day on different posts, different videos, things like that. I try to tag random people that I looked up to, or even tag people in the community that I'm, thinking about. Or I'd even go to specific locations, like I'm in downtown St. Petersburg. I would tag Tampa, or I'd go to SeaWorld and I'd tag SeaWorld something, just like and testing hashtags. I would do whatever I could to take just tests. Now, eventually, I started growing the following, and I finally bought it to test it. And I'm like, I'm going to buy 10,000 followers online, and I did. And so I bought it, and then I lost them all. And I got hit with like an algorithm issue, or what do you call
Wow.
it? And so I do not recommend buying. I don't. There is a threshold that you need to pass. I would say that you get more popular for sure. And, if you're not consistent, then you run into issues. But finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start posting a lot. And once I started speaking, I became a little bit more out there. The Instagram really took off. That's when it really, really shot off. Um,
Yeah.
and I know I didn't give you a lot right there, but it was really just testing, testing, testing. And then now, okay, here's my base. I'm just going to start doing this and being consistent and knowing that I have to engage. If you do not engage, you will not grow.
Okay. So when you say testing, 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 you mean that you're just producing content? Like you get an idea, inspirational moment, you test it, you share a post on Instagram, and then you notice how many views you get on that, or how many likes, or how many comments. And then if you didn't hardly get any, you post again. Right. And if you have one post that got maybe quite a few, more than the average, then you kind of post more of that type of content. Is that what you mean by
Yeah,
testing to
to a
see
point.
what's
Yeah.
working, what works, what gets the most likes, what gets the most comments or shares?
Well, and the key though too is like again, always think about that 25-year-old divorce coach. That's just my saying. And be careful where you see people that are, I always say they show more body than they do knowledge. There are accounts out there that will just go viral and pop off because of what they show or how they look. If
Okay, I
that's
see.
Yeah, and if that's not your path, then do not copy those people or try to go after that account. Be realistic with let's call it the circle that you have around you that you want to be like. So if you
Mhm.
notice, what are they doing? What do they post about? And that's one thing I wanted to make mine more about business and marketing. And I had a lot of people tell me, "Oh no, you need to go super generic, super broad." I just didn't care. I want people that watch my content, my pieces, to be involved in the type of business. It made sense for me. So I did. But I will say, the testing aspect is trying different hashtags, try different locations you're tagging yourself in. Sometimes I'll tag St. Pete Beach. I'll tag downtown St. Pete. I'll tag Tampa or Clearwater, even though I'm posting it out of wherever I'm at, just to
Oh,
see if I notice more engagement of one area. I mean, shoot, even check the times that you're posting at. and see if, at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., or 7 p.m. And you can schedule all this. So it doesn't have to be like, oh, shoot, I got to quit eating dinner or whatever I'm doing and
Yeah.
put my thing real quick. No, you can schedule that. But after a week or a week and a half of doing that, do you notice more engagement at certain times? And so that's really what I
Mhm.
mean by testing. Just be open to trying new things. But again, going back to it, make sure you know your analytics.
Okay. Give us your top three game changing ideas, very practical strategies that somebody can do and start increasing their followers and engagement on Instagram that worked for you because you tested and this works. What are the top three?
Yep. So what I do, I'd say one is and this one's a little bit more, it's not advanced by any means, but it's just something that people just don't do. Write out your top 25 accounts that are similar to you that you want to be like, and then what I do is I make sure that at least once a week I comment on their accounts. And then people see my comments and their followers follow me. That's one of those crazy things that I don't think people realize that this works. You know,
Okay.
if I'm constantly, and don't get me wrong, like people like Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, they're not most likely going to see my content. But I've had Tony Robbins, actually, I've one of his books over here. I've had Tony Robbins share. I bought his book and I just got it in, and he literally shared my post on his Instagram. Just
Awesome.
yeah, and that was just one of the, and of course I screenshotted it and I saved it. And I'm like, oh, look, I sent to some people. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
cool. But these are big moments for you, and I don't ever do anything for anybody else. So I don't care about if, let's say, April, if you're like, oh man, I like Joey posted something great. Okay, cool. But I didn't post that because I knew you would like it, if that makes sense. So what I
Hmm.
do is I make a list of 25 people, and then I would say I try to post at least once a week, or comment on one of their posts or what they're doing once a week. And that's a huge way in, because again, the algorithm is seeing your engagement. It also is encourage, let's say you have something you say, that's encouraging, or a question or something, and then now their followers are seeing it, liking your comments. I guarantee you they're going to your profile. That's a huge way to do it.
Great.
Mhm.
Great. That
So
that's so good. It's good to know. I've heard of that before, but does it really work? I think some people think, I think I kind of saw a video on that one time before, but does this really work? And you're confirming, yes, this is effective. All right, so we've got just a few more minutes here. Tell me your last two, your
yep.
two practical steps that were game changers.
Yep. So I think the other one too is also, don't be afraid to promote your account. That's so easy. I mean, you could spend $5 a day if you got a really good piece of content that you think is really awesome. Post it. Try to pay not necessarily pay for them, but pay the system. $5 a day or even $10 a day for 3 or 4 days on amazing posts that helps you and your brand grow. It works. You will get comments, you get likes. It's cool how that works, and it's not something that a lot of people think of. They're like, oh, I'm not going to pay. Well, guess what? Instagram's still a business, and they will
Yeah.
promote you and make you look good, if you're obviously supporting them in its own way. So that's
Right.
I'd say number two
So,
for
so you mean pay if you have a post that performs really well, like out of all of them, you've tested a
sure.
bunch of them, then you could pay to boost that one through Instagram a little bit to where they'll show that the good one that everybody was already commenting to a lot more people. I love that.
So the last one that I have to say is not something everybody likes, because they think
Okay.
it's too much work. You got to post 3 to 4 times a day. You have to
Okay.
do it.
All right.
Um, you can schedule it out. I'd say I got a friend of mine who is very large in the TikTok space. Same with Instagram. So they both, speak hand in hand. And every Sunday night or Monday morning, they get up, and they spend about 2.5 hours, whatever, scheduling their whole post for the entire week. And then they do that again. It's just part of their lifestyle. And that's just something where
Okay.
you can use a tool like Hootsuite, schedule everything out on all platforms if you wanted to. But let me say this real too. I know we're counting down on our
Yeah.
time. Double down or triple down on one platform. Do not stretch yourself out. You can't have more than 5 jobs. Really, sometimes people can't do more than 2 or 3 jobs,
Right.
maybe five. But yeah, if you do not double down on one, you might be, you know, halving it on these other ones. And you
Mm-hmm.
never see what's really working, because something that works on TikTok may not work on Instagram, or let's call it Meta. Facebook goes the same way, or YouTube.
Hmm.
They all speak the same language, similar audiences and similar engagement, but the intent, it may be different. A person on Facebook and Instagram may be very different on their intent than someone watching TikTok. Same with someone who's on, let's say, YouTube. YouTube, in my opinion, right now is your home run. Personally, Instagram's
Okay.
great. I don't monetize my stuff. I don't look for money out of this. It has landed me, obviously, talk with you. I've had, some pretty large speaking opportunities because of the 87,000 followers or whatever it is. I just don't expect anything from it. So I don't have anything to put forward that way. I will say I doubled down there, but now my views are going over. I want YouTube because I think that's the next, big Google, in my opinion. And if you can be a voice there,
Hmm.
you could really take off as a brand or, a consultant or just entrepreneurial person.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I love that you mentioned 3 to 4 times a day on a post, what you're posting, whether it's a little short video clip or a physical post. Um, we've got about 9 more minutes left on our interview here before our time runs out, but I want to share. Can you go a little bit deeper? I know that some people that are watching this, they have some reservations about visibility, like being seen, like maybe imposter syndrome. How did you overcome that and struggles around that when you started?
I don't think you really ever do 100%. I think you just start
Yeah.
getting thicker skin a little bit. Even now, I've looked multiple times down. I have my camera up here, but I look here and I can see different things. I always like, how do I have like a double chin or did my voice come through or anything like, there's so many things that you just get in your head about. And then you realize, oh my gosh, this person in San Diego, California, or Chicago, Illinois, or somewhere in Wisconsin or New York, let alone another country, watched my video and commented saying, oh my gosh, this was great. Thank you so much for sharing. Or I like this post. Or even better was, I think that's crap. You get a lot of those. But the thing is, it's like, oh my gosh, that person watching this doesn't give two craps about all these things that are in my head. They just
Yeah.
discover my content. I've never watched a video and thought, man, this person looks like this, or they could sound bad or they have bad information for sure. But I've never really judged somebody like I judge myself. So to get out of your head, I think you just got to come to the realization that the people watching your content aren't thinking your thoughts. So therefore, if your thoughts don't matter, then why do they matter? And so that's one of those big things, I think. And I think the thing that people don't realize too, with posting 3 to 4 times a day, it's actually not that hard. You can use ChatGPT or, Cloud or Claude, whatever they call it, and go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I need 25 video ideas that I can put out or 25 content pieces that I can utilize around X topic. Please write these out in an order. Plus, also give me a description I should put in my Instagram description box that explain what I'll be covering in each one of these videos. And then, you can even expand on that even deeper and you'll get an amazing topic list. And then, the information, or maybe you're diving into it. And shoot, you could even just watch other people do videos and just make facial reactions to information related to your industry, or topics. There's just the opportunity to make content in this world. It's so easy and accessible that it's like when the TV first came out. If anybody could have just made a TV show really quick when the TVs were starting to come about, and you had a camera and you could just put together something, it's worth doing. You have the ability for the first time to be your own little TV shows. And if you're not trying this right now, it's going to be impossible in a couple of years. There's just too many people with access to cameras and internet and the ability to put out good
Yeah.
information, let alone everything exists in this thing right here.
Mhm.
So you just got to get out of your head. And I'd say just start. I mean, you will laugh at your videos from 4 years ago. You just do. Sometimes it's disheartening because I'm like, oh man, I put on some weight or I look weird or, but it's
Yeah.
funny. Oh my gosh, like look at that stupid thing in the background that I didn't realize for 5 videos that I did, just these little things, but you just
Yeah.
got to
Just take imperfect action and just get it out there.
action. That's the key to it.
Action.
Cannot.
Yeah, and I love that you shared, that you don't have to make it hard when you're first starting out. You can utilize ChatGPT. I use it all the time. That is such a great nugget. I hope that you wrote that down. If you're not using ChatGPT, you could type in there, create 25 video topics that I can post on YouTube around this topic or whatever. It's like something like that, like he said,
And
would
don't be
definitely help you to get started.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to go to YouTube and literally type in how do I post 4 to 5 video content, or how do I post 4 to 5 content pieces a day on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, or how do I make faceless content for my brand? I mean, there are so many video resources. You should treat YouTube now like its own Google. I mean, it's owned by Google, but its own library.
Yeah.
There's access of information there, and any question that you have, it's like, how do I use ChatGPT to make video content? Go to YouTube, see what people see what these creators are doing, because they're so happy to give out their information because obviously it's giving them more views. And then also I always say, just, give back. Always leave a comment if you can, just say, hey, thanks so much for I watched this. Thank you for the tips. Because again,
Mhm.
comment. They might even comment back. Now they could be following you.
Absolutely. Well, this has been amazing, full of really good practical strategies that people can implement and start building their following, whether it be YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, wherever they're at. I want to ask you, where can people learn more or connect with you? Where what would be the best place?
Yeah, I would say I'd be BSing if I didn't say, you should go to, Instagram. But yeah,
Yes.
so
The link will be below the video.
yep. So I'm
Yeah.
that marketing guy on Instagram. But yeah,
Okay.
I always say this when it comes to reaching out. Instagram's great. Sometimes I don't get the messages just because I do get a lot, or just sometimes if we're not, relevant to each other. So I always say go to my website. It's gomediashark.com. If you ever want to just contact, I mean, call, or you can even just shoot a message and say, hey, I saw you on the podcast. Want to ask you a question or two. And this is something that I also love helping people. So not something we try to charge. I'm not pushing that. Just if you honestly have questions, shoot me a message. Either my team or myself will respond back and hopefully point somebody in the right direction.
Thank you. So as we wrap up, what's your final thought in about 60 seconds? One main core message that you want people to know that can help them.
In your head, you're dead. That's my favorite quote.
Mm,
Said by, I think Tony Robbins is actually one of his things. You will spend more time, fighting and debating and feeling negative or positive about your ideas. But the more time you spend in your head, the dead, really, you're just dead. You can't move. It's only based off the action you take forward. And so you can't think about losing weight. You can't think about putting on muscle. You can't think about having a healthier lifestyle, because none of that thinking actually does anything. You have to take action. So starting off with even one time a day, even doing one time a week, is 10 times, if not 100 times better than doing nothing at all. So always remember, if you're in your head about it, you're probably dead about it.
so good. So good. Thank you so much for coming on today. I mean, this is just packed full of nugget after nugget. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing so much. That's so generous. If you enjoyed today's message, I hope that you'll please subscribe, comment, share, and like our videos. Please check out Joey. And this is definitely going to help us to reach more people, to help them to unlock their potential. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Definitely.